Welcome to Design Foundations, the podcast where faith, family health, and true wellness come together. I'm Kelly, an integrative health practitioner, optometrist, and mom who's been where you are. I know how overwhelming it can feel to navigate health challenges for yourself and your family. That's why I'm here, to help you uncover the root causes of those struggles and help you build an unshakable foundation for a thriving life where you feel rooted, replenished, and restored. In each episode, we'll cut through the noise, talk about practical tips, and share real-life stories to encourage and equip you. You've got what it takes to create lasting wellness. I'm just here to help you get there. Let's dive in. Welcome back to the Design Foundations podcast. I am so glad you are here for episode 2. If you're new here, just let me say welcome. You have joined us in the middle of a super important conversation about what true wellness really looks like. And if you've been listening since episode 1, thank you for coming back. I'm thrilled to have you as a part of this journey. And the last time we really talked about what true wellness is, trying to redefine wellness from what culture has stated. And we're letting go of the cultural idea that it's all about perfection or performance. If you haven't listened to that episode, I encourage you to go back and check it out. But it really sets the stage for everything that we're going to dive into today. So where are we going today? We are talking about the starting point, because before we can build healthier rhythms and foundations, we have to pause and take an honest look at where we were at right now. So we go back to the roadmap analogy. In order for me to get to my destination, I have to plan a route. In order for me to plan a route, I have to know where my starting point is, where I'm starting from. So let me just start by saying, again, this is not about perfection or guilt. This is about gaining clarity, about taking that pause, having the time to reflect, taking a moment to truly assess where I'm at. Today, we're going to reflect, assess, and truly get honest about the areas that we might need a little bit more support in. All right, so why are we taking the time to even do this? Why is this the starting point? If I'm trying to go after parasites and infections and building healthy rhythms and foundations, like, why do I need to pause and reflect and assess where I'm at? Why can't I just jump in? Which is exactly what most of us want to do. I want to do it because we want the results. We want the quick fix. We want to feel better. So just give me what I need to get there. But the truth is, in order for me to build that foundation, I have to take the moment to pause. I have to see where I'm at, because I have to know what needs support and what do I need to build upon. What are the areas that are low? What are the areas that I do have good strengths in? Have you ever been so busy just trying to keep up with life that you don't even realize how tired, overwhelmed, stressed, disconnected you've become, and really just how stretched thin you are? And then something forces you to slow down. Maybe it's a sickness, there's some type of unexpected break in all of the chaos, and everything starts to catch up with you. And we certainly had that in our own family. We had that hard stop, and everything just comes crashing in. What seemed important in an hour became not important at all. I'll definitely share that on another episode, because we'll take an entire episode to share that story. But life is going to throw curveballs, and it's important to stop and take stock of where we are. Because life moves fast, and we get so caught up in the day-to-day and all the things that we start to miss the signs that something's feeling a little bit off. And for moms, I think it's really easy for us to put everyone's needs ahead of our own. And we're juggling schedules and meal plans and all the things that need to be done in the house, keeping everyone fed, cared for, and your own well-being ends up on the end of that list. And this is a hard place to be, because I think we can kind of swing on the pendulum to either side of this. We can be really selfish with our needs and our health and our time, and to the point that it almost becomes an idol. And then we can swing all the way on the other side, where we justify that we are putting everyone's needs ahead of ourselves, and therefore that's why we're in the place that we're in. From a healthy mindset, maybe that's spiritually, taking the time for physical rhythms and exercise. So we can definitely swing on both ends of that. And what's really important is that we definitely work to find that balance of in the middle. But here's the truth. You cannot pour from an empty cup. If you are running on fumes, mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually, it will catch up with you. I imagine that many of you have experienced that. And when it does, it doesn't just affect you, right? There's that ripple effect that starts happening in your whole family. your marriage starts to feel more disconnected. You start to feel more distant. You start noticing it in your kids. Maybe their behaviors start to change. You notice that they're acting up a little bit more. We seem to think that prioritizing everyone else is a great thing. And truly it is, putting others' needs before our own, of course. But there's definitely a balance and also taking care of ourselves and stewarding our bodies in the way that the Lord asked us to. Our bodies are a gift and He's asked us to steward those. So as we work through this and start to assess really where we're at, this isn't just about another task of adding to your to-do list, but it's truly about taking the time, slowing down just enough to figure out where you are so we can start taking intentional steps forward. So this is going to be kind of your foundation and starting point of how we get started in accomplishing walking towards that healthier lifestyle that if you're listening to this, I imagine that you are desiring for both you and your family. So let's take that moment to reflect. If you are doing the dishes or you are listening to this in the car, I'm going to ask you to either grab a pen, and if you're moving in the car, I want you to come back to this at a time that you do have a quiet moment to be able to really reflect and think through some of these questions that I'm going to ask. I think it's really easy for us to shove aside all of taking the time to kind of like dig into our emotions and really trying being able to assess. It's easy to just keep barreling through, take control, keep checking off the to-do list, but we've got to stop and take the pause. And we're going to assess and look at 4 key areas of life. And so I'm just going to ask you a few questions. First, we're going to look at things mentally. How are your thoughts these days? Where are they going? Are they clear? Are they focused? Do you feel like you're full of brain fog? Are they scattered and overwhelmed? Do you feel like your brain is always on, like constantly running? You're always running through your to-do list, your never-ending tasks. You wake up in the morning and as soon as your eyes open up, right, your brain is going through. Are we having like constant input of information? I know I am personally very guilty of that. I love knowledge. I love education. And I can find myself just taking it all in, listening to podcasts or anything really on like 2 times speed. I could find myself just in the rush emotionally. How are you feeling? Like truly take a minute. How am I feeling? How is my body feeling? Am I feeling joyful? Am I feeling frustrated, anxious, defeated? Maybe a little bit of a mix of all of the above. Do you feel like you're in control of your emotions, or do you feel like your emotions are controlling you? Are you responding out of emotion, or are you responding in truth? I think that is something that really takes time to sift and think through and makes a very large difference in our lives when we start responding in truth instead of responding to just out of fear or anxiety. Many times we're going to act out in control when I see myself in those positions. And as moms, that's a really common and easy place for us to show up. Physically, what is your body telling you? Are you tired, energized, stiff? Are you feeling really strong? Are you feeling somewhere in between? Do your muscles ache? Where do they ache? Do you feel kind of that pain in your stomach, even if it's just low grade and you've kind of been brushing it off to the side for a while? What are you feeling? Are there physical symptoms going even deeper? Fatigue, discomfort. And if you are ignoring them, it's probably because you're feeling like you're too busy to address them. What are you filling your time with that is making you feel like you're too busy to stop and take care of yourself and to address what those might be? Spiritually, how is your connection with God? Are you taking time to get to know Him? Are you in prayer, worship? Are you spending time in the Word? Does He feel really distant from you right now? Like write it down, exactly what you're feeling. Are you leaning into Him for strength, or are you trying to carry everything on your own? And we'll circle back to this, but we can't have a relationship with someone we don't know and someone that we don't take the time to get to know. So as we move through, we're going to be addressing that this really comes first. And this is at the heart and core of the foundation and the heart and core of true wellness. So be really honest here. Don't write what you think you should, but I want you to write with these questions, reflect where you actually are. Because when you're grounded and know what you're standing on, we're going to have a much accurate assessment of where to go and what steps that need to be taken to get there. And they're going to look a little bit different for everyone, but we're going to walk through exactly what that looks like. All right, so let's talk about why this reflection matters. Here's the truth. We can have the best nutrition plans. We talked about this, the most effective workouts, the perfect supplement routine, like check, 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 right? Everything on the to-do list. But if our foundation emotionally, spiritually, physically is weak, if it's shaky, then we're going to keep cycling through the same exact patterns: burnout, overwhelm, frustration. I'm never going to make it past like that 2-week mark, that 1-month mark. I'm just going to find myself back here. All right, so where do we go from here? I've assessed where I'm at. I've written it down. How do I begin to start building that strong foundation that we're talking about? And it's not about doing all of the things at once. It's about starting small and being consistent. Small steps will lead to long-lasting change. So here's a few habits just to consider, just getting started. Starting your day with intention. Set aside each day 5 minutes in the morning to pray, journal, reflect. Sometimes people will gratitude journal. Well, again, we'll talk about this in future episodes, but anxiety and gratitude cannot exist in your mind at the same time. So if I am writing about being thankful, I don't have literally the space in my mind to be thinking about all the anxiety and worry that I have during that day. That's a great place to get started if it's something that's new to you. Even just moments of silence, when you wake up in the morning, taking a second to just say a prayer to the Lord instead of jumping out of the bed and running down your to-do list. Asking the Lord to give you a guide for your day and give you the strength to handle whatever it is that comes your way. But starting with intention directed vertically towards the Lord is always going to set your day up for success. Again, nourishing your body, we'll get into this deeper, but focus on simple, intentional choices, like adding an extra serving of veggies to my meals. Am I drinking enough water? We want to be drinking half our body weight in water in ounces per day. So just the small changes can make a huge difference. And we don't want to be adding on. So part of the issue with going like 0 to 100 and jumping into these big plans or diets is that if I don't have the basics down, then I'm building on nothing. I have to be able to build the foundation, right? I have to stand on solid ground first. If I build, right, and keep just like running, but I'm building on sand, it's going to all cave in when that curveball comes. So this is important of focusing on the basics that a lot of us just brush off and think, I'll catch up on those later. But go back and make those consistent in your day before you move on. Moving your body. This is one, right? It's going to be all over in the workout world. What's best? Resistance training, just walking, stretching, but to get started, what movement feels good to you? What do you love to do? I personally love Pilates. So when I have been out of a rut or in a rut, I should say, and really struggling to get started, Pilates is like my safe place to go back to and get started because I love it. And I know that it's more likely that I'm going to go to that than I am to go to maybe a strength training workout I don't love as much and I'm really pushing myself to go to. So if I'm trying to get back in consistency, I'm going to gear towards something that I really love to do. So what is it that you love? Maybe it's something simple like just playing with your kids in the backyard. Maybe you're playing soccer. Maybe you're going to the park, throwing the football. If you're doing nothing, that is something. So again, those small sustainable steps, figure out what that is. Daily walks are a great way to get started, whether they're 10 minutes around the block or something that you can sustain for longer. But those are a great way to get kind of habit stack. So we're getting good sunlight. We're getting those walks in. It's a great stress reliever. It's awesome for the central nervous system. So incorporating those basics into your day really has to come first. So the next is creating space for rest. I think this is probably the hardest one to do, especially when we are moving from thing to thing and our minds are constantly running. But it's so important that we just take that moment. We sit in stillness. If you need to set a timer on your phone, do it. Try to set it out of reach so you're not tempted to grab your phone, to check an email, to check the Instagram notification, whatever it is. But even in that 5 minutes, incorporating a level of deep breathing can really make a difference. And it's a very simple step to add into your day. And the next, which takes a little bit longer, but it's something that you can and should start today, is building community. Surround yourself with people who encourage you, who uplift you. If you don't have that kind of community, start small. Reach out to one friend, join a local group, look for a church. But community, I say the foundation creates your ending, and community changes everything. Having the right people around you just in daily life, encouraging and walking alongside you, sharing life's ups and downs, but also being able to lift your face up when you do have something that comes into your life, when you are unable to look to the Lord, or it's very difficult to look forward, and to have people around you that are doing it for you. And again, I'll share more about this in another episode, but I have learned very deeply what true community means. It's worth the time that it takes, I should say, to build those type of relationships and to dig in deep and to be vulnerable. And so if you don't have that, I really encourage you to start that today. So here's your challenge for this week. Take a moment to reflect on those 4 things that we talked about. Where are you standing emotionally, mentally, physically, and spiritually? Choose one small habit to focus on this week. Maybe it's starting your day with prayer, adding that extra vegetable, or even just taking a walk outside. Remember, this isn't about doing everything perfectly. It's about taking one small step to build consistency. Thank you so much for spending time with me today. I know life is very busy, and I don't take it lightly that you've chosen to spend some of your time here. My hope is that this episode has encouraged you to pause, reflect, and really take that next step, that starting point towards true wellness. If today's episode resonated for you, I'd love for you to grab my Design Foundations guide. It is packed with practical steps to help you start building a healthier, stronger foundation. You can find it linked in the show notes or at designfamilywellness.com. And don't forget to follow me on Instagram at Design Family Wellness for daily encouragement, tips, and a peek behind the scenes. Next time, we're diving deeper into how to build a foundation that lasts, one that is rooted in faith and capable of withstanding whatever life throws your way. I can't wait to see you there. And until then, take care of yourself. You're worth it. Thank you for tuning in to Design Foundations. I hope today's episode left you feeling encouraged and equipped to take meaningful steps towards building a healthier, more intentional life for you and your family. If you found value in this conversation, I'd love for you to share it with someone else who might need this encouragement today. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode. And if you're feeling inspired, leave a review. It helps this message reach more families like yours. Until next time, remember, true wellness starts with a strong foundation, rooted in faith, and grows with intentional care. Take care, and I'll see you next week.
This podcast is for educational purposes only and is not medical advice. The information shared is not a substitute for professional medical care. Always consult your healthcare provider before making any changes to your health or wellness routine.